Hello, I'm Kurma. Welcome to the Gourmet Vegetarian Cooking Video Encyclopedia. This edition we're going to show you how to prepare a few of the thousands of varieties of traditional Indian sweets, prepared from milk, fruits, nuts, grains, sugar, spices, essences and even vegetables. Sweets like these have been offered in temples in India for thousands of years. We're going to show you how to prepare creamy traditional vanilla sweet rice, pistachio milk fudge or barfi, Srikhand, a creamy condensed saffron yogurt, and carrot halva. So let's begin. Traditional vanilla sweet rice. Here's a beautiful, simple to prepare dish made from milk, rice and sugar. You need half of a gallon of milk, which is 8 cups, and we need to place it in a heavy pot on the stove, like so. Let's turn on the flame, and you need 1 wooden spoon. We're going to add to that 1/16 part rice, or 1/2 of a cup of washed short grain white rice. So that's 1/16 part rice. Now we have to stir the sweet rice until it comes to the boil. Don't add the sweetener at this stage, because that will impede the cooking of the rice grains. We're just now bringing the milk and the rice to the boil, and we're going to condense that down. Now let's add our vanilla in the form of a vanilla bean, which you can purchase in any good supermarket or specialty shop. This is a 1 portion of a long 9-inch bean that I've been using. This is a 1-inch piece left, which is ideal for this amount of sweet rice. This is the fruit of the vanilla plant. It's a beautiful smelling and tasting bean with that beautiful pure aroma of vanilla, and it's very strong, and as you cook it, the vanilla comes out. Now actually inside, I'll show you, we're going to split it down the middle here. You notice this beautiful black crystalline substance. The pulp inside is the most concentrated part of the vanilla. So we're going to add this into our sweet rice, and we're going to cook it down with the milk and the rice and allow it to impart its beautiful vanilla flavour throughout the sweet rice. Now we're not adding our sugar at this stage because that will impede the cooking of the rice. When you cook your vanilla bean in your sweet rice, you'll notice all those beautiful little black specks start floating around. That's the pulp from the vanilla pod, and that imparts that beautiful vanilla fragrance throughout. Now don't forget to keep stirring, because if you don't, the rice will stick on the bottom and cause your sweet rice to burn. So you have to reserve about half an hour in an undisturbed atmosphere so you can fully concentrate on cooking your sweet rice. And the more you stir it, the better it becomes, because as you stir, you're actually aerating your sweet rice. And this makes for a beautiful, foamy, creamy finished product. So it's been about half an hour now, and our sweet rice is practically done. It's thick and rich and creamy, and it's actually complete. But of course, sweet rice is not complete until you add the sugar, otherwise it's not sweet rice. In fact, sometimes we get so involved with cooking sweet rice that we forget to add the sugar. So at this point I'm going to add my sugar. Now that's sweet rice. It will momentarily go off the boil, so bring it back to the boil again. When it does, it's done. And here it comes now. It's boiling again. Let's turn it off. So here's our sweet rice. It shouldn't be served hot, of course. Sweet rice is best served icy cold. So you should allow your sweet rice to cool down and then refrigerate it. It will actually thicken up, even though it might look a little thin at this stage. When it comes out of the fridge, it's even creamier and thicker. So I have a batch of sweet rice which has been there for about an hour. I'm going to bring that out and show you. And here it is. Beautiful, thick, creamy batch of vanilla sweet rice. I'm going to show you now how to make a sweet out of vegetables. We're going to use carrots to make this beautiful shredded carrot halva called gajar halva. We've got here 4.5 cups of shredded carrots. That's about 1.5 pounds. We've got 2.5 cups of milk, 1.5 cups of heavy cream, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts, 1/4 cup of golden raisins, 1/3 cup of butter, and a teaspoon of cardamom powder. And we're going to combine those in a way that will even make the humble carrot into a most glorious sweet. So the first thing we're going to do is to melt our butter in a heavy pan. Along with our butter, we're going to add our cardamom, like so. And our carrots. Now we're going to saute our carrots and butter and cardamom together for about 10 minutes, after which time the mass of carrots would have reduced somewhat. So we've been stirring now for 10 minutes. See how nicely reduced it is? Let's add our milk. And our cream, heavy cream. Now we're going to cook it down some more, this time for about 25 minutes. You don't have to stir all that time. Specifically, you should be stirring often as it gets to its critical stage, that is in about 25 minutes' time. As you can see, there's a little bit of stirring involved with Indian sweets. A little time is involved, but it's well worth it. So here's our carrots, milk and cream, 1/3 reduced. So here's our carrot halva after about 12 minutes. We're about halfway through the reducing there. See how it's becoming thickened. So keep stirring. So now we're reaching the critical stage where you have to keep stirring. This is the stage where you'll burn your carrot halva if you're not careful. But there's only about 5 minutes to go now before we're going to add our sugar and our nuts. Notice how this is spitting very violently. This is getting pretty close now to the end of the second stage of our carrot halva. So it's been 25 minutes now. This is the end of stage 2 of the carrot halva. The carrots and cream and milk have been reduced. Now let's add our sugar. And our raisins, or golden raisins there, and our nuts. Now, as you notice, the whole mixture loosens up a little bit and it turns a different colour. It goes a more glassy colour. Now we have to reduce this down, stirring often, for about 10 to 15 minutes. So this is practically done. I'd say it's probably got about 5 minutes left to go. It's coming away from the sides, but it needs to be more of a lump in the middle of the pan. So I'm going to keep stirring this for another 4 or 5 minutes. And here it is, the finished product. Notice how our halva is now turning into one lump there in the middle of the pan. That's our finished carrot halva. So you can either serve it warm or you can serve it cold. Here's a batch that I made before. I allowed it to cool. I formed it into a mould. I put a little piece of silver leaf on top and decorate it with a few cashews. Now you can slice it up into pieces and serve it. Either way, cold or warm, it's beautiful. I'm going to show you now how to make a condensed saffron yogurt dessert, which is very, very easy to prepare. In fact, there's no cooking involved whatsoever. We've got here 8 cups of yogurt, plain fresh yogurt. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to pour it into a cheesecloth. If you haven't got a cheesecloth, you can use some piece of clean linen, something which will enable substance like this, yogurt, to drain through. The idea is that yogurt is a colloidal suspension of solids and liquids, and the liquid portion is called whey. And the idea is we're going to condense this amount of yogurt by hanging it in our cheesecloth and allowing the whey to drip through. And the end result will be a very, very smooth, rich, condensed form of yogurt. So you notice how already drips are forming underneath the cloth here. Now that should be hung and allowed to drain for about minimum half of a day. Over here I've got a batch of Shrikant which I left hanging for 1 day, about a day and a half actually. Notice how this yogurt has become very firm and condensed. And here, this is our whey here. Notice how much there is. That's why our yogurt reduced so much. I used our little stand here so the yogurt wouldn't sit in the whey. Don't discard this, by the way, because it's very, very good for making different preparations. Specifically, the whey that comes out of condensed yogurt is wonderful for preparing curd. In other words, this particular whey is very acidic, so you can use this to add to milk as a curdling agent. Now, what we can do here with this yogurt now is to turn it into our bowl here. There it is. That's the raw ingredients for our Shrikant. Beautiful lump of condensed yogurt. Now we have to add our other ingredients. We've got 1/4 teaspoon of whole strands of saffron. We're going to grind it up in our mortar and pestle. Like so. We're going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of rose water. We're going to pour it into our yogurt. Like so. Make sure you don't leave any of your saffron behind in the mortar and pestle. Let's scrape it all out. The saffron is expensive, not the sort of thing you want to throw around the kitchen. Now we're going to add our sugar. 1 cup of sugar. You might say that's a lot of sugar, but this is an extremely sour preparation without sugar because yogurt, as you know, is pretty sour, but when you condense it like that, it's even sourer. So fold all these ingredients together like so. I like to use the confectioner's sugar or the powdered sugar because it's anhydrous, it doesn't have any water content. The beauty of this Shrikant is it's such a firm, thick dessert. You don't want to dilute it anymore unnecessarily. So there we've blended everything together. A final whisk. And there you have it, a beautiful batch of rose saffron flavoured condensed yogurt, Shrikant. Now I'm going to transfer it into a beautiful serving dish. This dessert, by the way, should be served chilled. I like to also garnish this with a little bit of rose water and a few little saffron threads, like so. Saffron, condensed yogurt, Shrikant. A beautiful dessert. Here's another beautiful milk sweet. It's called barfi. This is a traditional pistachio milk fudge with a beautiful creamy consistency, which is cooked right down until it's a solid mass. We're going to use milk and sugar and pistachio nuts as our basic ingredients. 8 cups of milk, or half a gallon, 3/4 cup of sugar, 1 cup of minced pistachio nuts, flavoured with half a teaspoon of powdered cardamom seeds and 2 tablespoons of butter. So now we're going to combine everything in our heavy gauge pot here. This is one of my heaviest pots. I use it for cooking down milk preparations such as this. If you haven't got a pot this big, a smaller one will be sufficient, but I like something big to move around in. So we're going to combine all our ingredients here for a start. Our pistachio nuts. Let's not waste any. We've got our cardamom powder, our butter, and our sugar. And we're going to add our milk. Like so. Now we turn on the flame and we begin the exciting process of stirring our milk. It doesn't have to be stirred all the time. I would suggest that you let it come to the boil, stir it a little while, and then return it to a simmer and allow it to cook down over that 1 hour period. It will go down through different stages. First of all, it will start foaming, and then it will reduce its foaming and it will start to go onto a rolling boil, and then from a rolling boil it will gradually reduce to half, reduce right down till there's about 1/4 of the volume of substance remaining. And then you cook that down to a solid paste right at the end there, and then you can actually scrape it out and you have a solid mass left, which is called barfi, and that you can do so many things with. You can form it into different shapes. And this is a very, very traditional Indian sweet, very, very famous, very, very popular. So notice now how our milk is boiling with a full head of foam. It's been about 10 minutes now since we first put it in the pot. Now after 20 minutes, you'll see our milk has reduced partially and it's still boiling, and my right arm is getting a little tired here, but this is all part of the fun. So after 25 minutes, our milk has reduced to half its original volume. It's looking very thick, and at this stage you could turn it off and call it condensed milk. But we're not. We're going to continue cooking it down further. So after 35 minutes, you'll notice that the condensed milk is not boiling so rapidly, even though I haven't turned the flame down. That's because the milk has thickened. Now after 50 minutes, you know you're almost there because you can see the bottom of the pot very clearly through the condensed milk. It's condensing down into a solid lump here. So here we are after 1 hour, and the burfi is now one solid lump in the middle of the pot. So I'm going to turn off my flame like so and allow this to cool down somewhat for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to take it out of the pot and transfer it onto a dish. So it's been about 15 minutes now, and our pistachio burfi is cool enough to handle. Spoon it out onto our board here. Notice how creamy it is. It's almost like a toffee at this stage. Very beautiful. Just going to get a little butter on my hands and form it into a shape. For a start, I'm going to knead it just a little bit. It's beautiful when you consider this is just simply condensed milk. Now I'm going to place it onto a dish. I think I'll also butter the dish, like so. You can form it into a square. I guess we could probably get about 6 or 7 inch square out of this. There's different things you can do at this stage. You can either cut it into squares and decorate it on top, or you can form it into little balls or little shapes. I'll show you that in a moment. Now this is our finished product, a nice slab of burfi. Now I have a batch over here of previously made burfi, the same recipe, the same amount. Notice how I've covered this one with silver leaf. Silver leaf is available at Indian specialty shops, and I've also split it down the centre and spread apricot jam inside. This is stuffed with apricot jam. You can decorate this with a cardamom pod or a pistachio nut, like that. So these are some of the things you can do with milk. Or you can pinch off little balls of burfi, roll them into balls, flatten them into patties, and then press them into decorative moulds. Here's a decorative piece of burfi that I made in that way. These moulds I got from an Indian shop. Alternatively, you could go to a department store and get shortbread moulds, and they do the same thing, although slightly different patterns. So these are some of the versatile things you can do with milk to form such beautiful dishes as pistachio milk fudge, pistachio burfi. Well, there we have it, just a few of the thousands of varieties of Indian sweets that can be prepared out of simple ingredients like nuts, fruits, milk, sugar and grains. It's said that a meal is not complete without a sweet, so happy eating.